All right, guys, welcome back to Dad's Little Warriors Dad Talk. This is season 2, where we're introducing, dads to the podcast, and I'm really excited about this season. We got some awesome dads lined up. Here today, we got my buddy ODELL, man. So he's probably one of the first dudes that I actually thought about while we were going through the situation with Lucy that we were in. I've said, actually, we talked about those guys a little bit, ODELL and Walker and Sydney, on our last podcast with Logan, because he knows, and that's kind of how we've all kind of came together to know each other. And, they've been through it, man. So I'm really excited to have him on here and, get his take on being a dad. And, this is it. So welcome on, man. I appreciate you coming in.
I'm pumped. Let's get to it.
That's it, man. So, like I told ODELL, when we were talking, I'm like, I don't want to do this normal podcast of like script and, all this shit. And like he told me the other day, he's like, I guess Sydney asked him, was like, did you see any of Shane's podcasts yet? The Dad's Little Warrior stuff. And he was like, I want to go in blind. Yeah. I don't even want to know what they're talking about. And like, I respect that because that's what I'm doing. I'm going to just roll this thing out and just do dad talk, man. Just talk about different stuff.
Yeah. Just here to talk, have some beers, relax.
Yep. So one thing that like I had like a really big respect for these guys, and when I heard it, it hit me hard that, so you're originally from Texas.
Yep. From Fort Worth area. Yeah.
Yep. And when their son was born and everything like that, they ended up moving up to Delaware, to go to Nemours and all that stuff. So man, I couldn't imagine that drive.
It was a very interesting drive to begin with. Well, it was our second time that landed us here like permanently. Yeah. Mm-hmm. So our first drive up came from the fact that, so when Walker was born, they basically, this was like in the height of COVID, they gave us practically an ultimatum to shorten the super long story. They had told us early on in the pregnancy that our son had a lethal form of skeletal dysplasia. He wasn't going to live. Mm-hmm. Do you want to terminate the pregnancy? We opted of not doing that.
Sure.
We thought if there was any kind of chance, let's take the chance. Yeah. If we get any kind of time with him, let's soak it up while we can.
Yep.
And when he was finally born, we had gone to a geneticist, a genetic specialist in Texas, and the thing that really threw me off was she had mentioned, well, I'm surprised your son's alive at this point in time. If he's alive in 4 months, I'd like to have you back for another appointment. Needless to say, I paid cash at the end of that doctor's meeting, and we never saw her again.
Holy shit, man.
So my wife had made... My wife's...
How did you make it out of there without handcuffs?
It was a lot less difficult than it seemed. It was a lot of immediate rage in the head, but understanding of me being arrested or something happening to Sydney or anything of that nature just wouldn't help the situation out at all. It was just buck up. She doesn't understand. Move on.
Yeah.
And then at one point in time, my mother-in-law's friend from the lake house area had made a post about us, and it kind of caught fire for a minute, and a family reached out to us and said, you got to go to Nemours. At that point it was still AI DuPont. And she was like, you need to reach out to them. So we got the number, we reached out, came in contact with a wonderful woman named Mary Ellen, and she immediately was like, does your son have a cleft palate? And we were like, yes. And they were like, how is he being fed? And then they were like, do you know that there's a specific way to feed a baby with a cleft palate? And it turned into this whole thing of like, we need to take him to the doctors in Dallas. That ended up having him admitted for, I think, almost 10 days.
Yeah.
It was like around 10 days. But in that time, we got to FaceTime with the doctors up here, and they were like, I can tell you right now, he was misdiagnosed. He has dystrophic dysplasia. He doesn't have AO2. He's obviously not passed away, so he doesn't have a lethal form of skeletal dysplasia, but you need to come up here and talk with us.
Yeah.
My parents, they had a mobile RV, and they were like, well, we can load you guys up to make it a safe trip instead of flying right in the height of COVID and everything.
Yeah.
So we drove up, did our first appointment in February of 21, and then they were like, all right, here's kind of like the laid out plan of what needs to happen. Come back in 6 months. Well, we come back up in 6 months. This is August of 21. We come up there, or we came up here, and when we got here, we thought it was just going to be a 2-day doctor's appointment, turn around, back to Texas, back to the usual, back in another 6 months. Well, they put him in for a sleep study, and in the sleep study, the doctor or the sleep study therapist kept coming in and out of the room thinking something was wrong with the sensors.
Yeah.
And eventually she was just like, so you need to call your wife. We're admitting him into the PICU because his CO2 numbers are so high that it's life-threatening at this point.
Wow.
They take us down. I didn't think anything was wrong. He was wide-eyed, smiley, happy, kind of like kid. Gets down there. They take him off oxygen, and it's immediate plummet. And probably one of the scariest nights outside of him being born and us being told we were going to go home to an empty house and not even be prepared to be parents kind of thing. And and once they said that he was going to be trached and put on a ventilator, they were like, he's going to be here for a minimum of 12 weeks.
No shit.
At least.
Yeah.
So you're going to have to get training. Then after that, we got to find a flight back to Texas. Then he's got to be put back into inpatient. Then you got to find home nursing. It was just like a whole list of things. And then it eventually turned into a conversation on a car ride, probably like Taco Bell or something.
Yeah.
I was like,
well, that's all.
And it begins. I told the wife, I told Sydney, I was just like, look, if we're going to be here for 12 weeks, might as well just move here.
Yeah.
I mean, I'd rather be within 10-minute driving distance of the hospital that's literally helped save our child's life than be a plane ride, if you can get it, or a 28-hour car drive kind of thing. And that's just how it kind of kicked off.
Right. Well, and that right there, I mean, just that last part of everything just shows, the kind of dad you are and why you're here and why I have so much respect for you is because it just doesn't even seem like it was like too much of a thought. It's like, this is what makes sense.
Yeah.
This is what we need to do.
Yeah.
And fuck it, we're in.
Yeah, it was just, it was an obvious point in the right direction that we needed for him. And as much as we miss being home and as much as we miss our family, they come up and see us.
That's
and
good.
We're able to go down and see them.
Yep.
On occasion. I haven't been home in almost 3 years. Sydney's going to go back and hang out with some friends and family here in April, end of April, which is great. And we miss them, but they also understand, like, we are here for him. We didn't move here just because we thought, man, I want to go live in Wilmington, Delaware, the happiest place on earth. Like, it wasn't my first thought.
No doubt. No doubt. How far along did you find out that he had something going on?
I mean, Sydney knows this way better than I do.
Yeah.
I think it was so we found out she was pregnant, I want to say in like February-ish of 2020.
Yeah.
And I think it was around July. It was like July-ish.
Yeah.
June or July. It might have been earlier than that. Again, I'm terrible with dates. She knows these days down to the exact second.
Yeah.
But it was at the same time a moment I won't forget. I was at work, and obviously during COVID, they wouldn't let both parents in for doctor's appointments, which was stupid to begin with. It's like, am I going to get her sick? Like for being around? I'm around her anyways.
Exactly.
But they had noticed at our OB appointment, they noticed that one of his femurs might have been shorter, but they weren't sure. They were like, it could be a bad image. It might be something along the lines of either a bad image, maybe he's turned a different way, and the measurement's just a little off, but just to be safe, we're going to send you to a high-risk specialist.
Okay.
We thought nothing of it.
Sure.
I mean, they'd mentioned dwarfism, but we didn't think anything.
Right.
We're like, it's probably just bad image.
Yeah.
Maybe he's just kicking around in there and he's just got a bad shot. Well, they sent her to this high-risk specialist. And I went to work thinking that, I was like, call me when they got photos of them. Like, let me see some videos of them. Let me get the heartbeat sound. I love getting that. Well, she calls me and she's erratic. I can't even begin to understand what she's saying. I just know immediately something's wrong, and she can't even really explain it over the phone. And I said, just send me your address. I'm on my way. I tell my boss, I'm like, something's wrong. I gotta go. Yeah. The whole drive there, I started freaking out about something's wrong. What's going on? I have no control over this. I wasn't there for the initial thing, and now she's sitting there by herself. Yeah. And that's literally what they did. I mean, no fault to them. They're supposed to separate emotion from being a doctor and whatnot. But this was like, in my head, I think of it as bad bedside manners kind of thing. Yeah, yeah. Well, I get there. I get into the room. She's soaking wet with tears. And I'm like, something's clearly really wrong. And then the doctor comes in and she goes, after looking at the scans and after looking at everything, your son is almost certainly got a lethal form of skeletal dysplasia and he's not going to live. I immediately lose it. I'm like, what do you mean? Like, how's it go from his femur might be short to he's not going to survive? And it didn't really hit me until, I mean, it hit me hard at that moment because I hated seeing how hurt Cindy was. Yeah. But it was one of those moments where like I left out of there and when I sat in the truck to follow her back to her mom's house to like try to talk to the family about it, it just hit so bad. I was like, I'd called obviously my dad and I couldn't even barely talk to him. Yeah. I called my work, who I was also very close family friends with, and I called somebody else, Steve Stone. He's one of the best people on the entire planet. He's just been like a solid rock whenever I was touring and whatnot. He was a solid rock of a human that I could always lean on. Yeah. Very, very godly man, very faithful man, very somebody to strive to look up to. Like I look up to him, not like my dad. I look up to my dad in a different aspect, but I looked up to him kind of in that same way. And I still do. Yeah.
You got to have those people, man. Oh, you have to.
The backbone to be able to reach out to somebody in dire times and needs and have somebody kind of be a voice of reason and help you out outside of the family is huge. And he was one of those people, when I called him, I couldn't even speak. And I was like driving, I couldn't even see. I was crying so hard. Yeah. We get back to the house. My family rushes over from what they were doing. And it's just trying to reconcile the idea of what the possible future may hold. Yeah. And it just kind of spun off from that into now here we are. And I mean, we'll get into that, but it was insane. I mean, it's something that no parent should ever go through. Like, I'm assuming y'all had the similar experience. It's no dad should ever worry that their kid's going to be born and not even get to enjoy life at all.
Yep, for sure, man. You know, and that's like everybody's situation is different, and it's like it's awesome for me to hear and like talk to guys. Like, I don't think there's any way you can prepare yourself, whether you know before, you know during, or you know after. Like, it hits you. You know what I mean? Like, it's tough no matter what happens. Like, ours was just like in labor, baby's out, here's what it is. You know what I mean? Like, so like that, that's one big thing I always like to ask about. Like, you know, did the time help kind of prepare you, or do you feel like it's like?
I feel like it kind of helped prepare for the idea of not coming home with them, of like, wrap your head around it. He's either not coming home or you're going to have a very, very short time with him. Yeah. And that was another big thing, was like, when we got closer to him being born, they expressed to us, look, with the protocols that are going on right now, again, through the whole COVID thing, they're like, with the protocols and stuff like that going on right now, you have really one of two options. You have what's called care and comfort. He's going to be born, we're going to hand him to you, and we're going to step away, and you're going to have your time with him, whether it be 2 seconds, 2 minutes, 2 hours, 2 days, 2 weeks, whatever it is. We're not going to intervene at all. Or we can take him, but if we take him, we're wheeling him across the bridge to the children's unit, where you're not allowed to go, where he would probably pass away and you're not going to get any time with him.
No shit.
We'll do everything we can, but we can't guarantee you that he's coming back.
Oh my God.
And so we decided, we were like, if anybody's going to get any time with him, it's going to be us. We're not letting some doctor get the few moments of life if that's what they're telling us.
For sure.
And they understood it, and they were actually really cool about opening up the hospital policy to have my family, her family, all be there in the room next door, so that way after we had our time with them, they could come in.
Nice. It's awesome.
And it was just one of those things, as soon as he was born, we had our moment with him, and then it was like, call the family in, we only have X amount of time, we think, so get your loving and your caring in while you can. Yeah. And luckily it turned into the greatest little superhero miracle of ours.
That's awesome, man. You know what? He's 4, right?
Just turned 4 back in November.
Dude, it was funny because like when Logan came on the podcast, you know, last week and stuff like that, and we were talking, we were bullshit after the fact, you know, when I posted the video and everything. And we were talking about you guys, you know, you and Sydney and Walker and stuff. And I was like, yeah, you know, I've never, like, he's like, I can't wait to meet him. You know, Logan was saying he can't wait to meet you. And I'm like, yeah, I met him like twice. I was like, one time Sam was doing pictures. I was like, we were pretty fresh out of the hospital, so I was still probably pretty fucked up in the head. I'm like, and 2.
It's still grasping everything.
Yeah. I'm like, and the second time, I had a big Woody costume on at friggin' Walker's party, and I'm like, I'm talking Woody like Toy Story Woody, not like Big Johnson Woody.
Yeah, when you showed up in the Woody costume, because for the people that don't know, we did, so every year my wife is very big into themed events for Walker.
You gotta be, man.
You have to be.
Gotta be.
Yeah, you gotta go all out for the kids. Hell, just walking around through the house, it feels like an event through the entire house here. And she wanted to do Toy Story. It's one of his favorite movies at the moment. And so we're like celebrating, doing the cake. I saw Shane for a split second and then he disappeared, and all of a sudden Woody the cowboy comes walking in.
Yeah, man, big head and all.
I had no idea it was you at first. I thought it was just somebody that got hired in. And then I realized, and then she was like, that's Shane. And I was like, that's Shane? And then it turned from you just being Woody for Walker's birthday to you being Woody for all the kids there.
Yeah, man.
They loved it. They soaked it up.
That was amazing. And that's what it's all about. Sam's big into pulling me in some bullshit. You know, like that stuff, I do not complain one bit at all. I'm like,
it's fun.
It
lets that inner kid out a little bit. In a world where we're not really feel like we should be an inner kid every once in a while, to have stupid fun moments where it's rewarding in a sense for you, but it's even better for the people around you.
It is, man. You know, and that's what it's all about. Like, it was funny. You wouldn't think so because I started doing the podcast stuff and all that stuff, but like, I'm not a big, huge people person. Do you know what I mean? Like, this is totally new for me, and trying to bring people together and do all this stuff. And when I'm in because like, dude, I do like the Grinch, you know, I've done the Woody, I've done all a couple different, you know, things. We have all the costumes and shit like that for Sam's props for photography. And like the best part of it is, I don't fucking talk. I'm in character, and that's my excuse.
Yeah.
And I'm just like bopping the fucking along.
Yeah.
You know.
just become the mascot.
I'm in one with myself in that costume I'm wearing. And like, I'm in it, dude. There's no talking. People be like, you know, hey, Woody. I'm like, yeah.
Smile inside and wave.
Howdy, partner. You know, without the howdy partner.
Yeah, Sydney apparently, I'm pretty good at making friends and getting along with people. I feel like it's like, give everybody 110% trust until they show you a reason not to kind of thing. And I try to get along with everybody. I don't even think I can count on one hand the amount of people that I either don't agree with. Even if I don't agree with them, I still like try to get along with them kind of thing.
Exactly.
And Sydney's always like, I swear you could probably talk to a brick wall and be completely fine. I'm like, I guess so. Like, that's what it takes.
Man. Sam's the same way, man. And like, you know, with the photography stuff, she knows so many people and all that stuff. We can't go anywhere. I mean, dude, we've been out of the country before and be like, oh, hey, Sam.
Yeah.
You know? And I'm like, what the fuck, here we go.
That's how I feel like with Sydney, it's crafting. Like we go to Hobby Lobby or Michael's or Joann's, and we'll be in line and they'll be like, oh my God, are you Walker's Reese? Are you Walker's mom? Like, I'm like, how the hell did this happen?
Yeah, that's awesome, man. That is really cool.
Yeah, we're just PR for Walker, and that's about it. Well, it's amazing and one to just finally be a parent in general. Like, I never thought, I'm not saying I never thought I'd be a dad, but like being a dad in general is probably the best thing that's ever happened. And a line from Steve Stone himself, it was when my buddy Jimmy was about to have his first kid. He was like, you think you've got it all figured out, but the second that child is born, your whole world is going to flip immediately, and every aspect of you is going to change for the better. And you could be in any kind of situation you are right now, but as soon as you have your kid, you're going to like completely adjust and readjust your whole way of thinking. But then it's also going to bring out like that kind of kid side of you in a sense.
It does.
It's been awesome.
I know, like here recently, within like the past like couple months, you guys have actually been able to start to bring Walker home a little bit and everything. Man, that's fucking amazing.
Yeah, it's been awesome. Having the ability. So this past year we've had our second at-home Thanksgiving with Walker, our second at-home Christmas with Walker. To be able to do that, our first official outing away from ECC was really special. We had Sydney's mom and stepdad Rick, they were up here visiting us. We got to take him to Longwood Gardens. Yeah. He loved it.
Really?
Well, it was during the daytime. It was a little different in the daytime. It's like not the full spectacular. It's more for the adults. And it's just like, let's see how he does on an outing. Yeah. The real hit was when we got back to their Airbnb. Longhorns were playing, hook 'em horns. Longhorns were playing, and we put Walker on the ground with Rick, or Pops, and we put him on the ground with them, and they literally just like curled up and watched the Longhorn game. I took probably the best nap of my entire life, and they like soaked up every bit of it. It was like awesome, we can finally like have at-home experience again, and then it was like every weekend, bringing them home just for the hell of it, and it's been awesome. Having them home for Christmas was probably the biggest hit of the year. Yeah, just to experience that again was incredible.
And that's like the stuff that, you know, most people just take for granted. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like that's, you know, that's tough. I mean, we were only, you know, I say only, but it felt like a fucking lifetime. We were in the hospital, you know, in the NICU with her for 27 days. You know what I mean? And it's like, you know, like we were saying before, it could always be worse. You know what I mean? And like, it's just a lot of people take that stuff, you know, for granted. That's
but at the same time, you also kind of got to adjust to it. I mean, I know some families that have been in that have had kids that have been in longer than we were. We were there we were at Nemours for almost 2 years. I mean, we had a span of 35 days when we had him home, but it just didn't work out. Sure. He just wasn't quite ready, and we were still dealing with few other factors of him that he just wasn't ready to be home at that point in time. But like being there, that whole staff became like sisters and aunts and extra like family to us. I mean, we would decorate the room. Sydney was always really good about like making it try to feel as homey as possible, but we're still in a hospital. Like they still, so when we went up and visited another family that was in town. They came in for a procedure for their daughter. And we went up and walked right by Walker's room that he was in on 3 West. And his snowflakes that we put on the window in 2021 for Christmas. For his second Christmas, right after he turned 1, the snowflakes are still on that window. I feel like they kept them up there as like an homage. Like, this is Walker's room kind of thing.
It's funny because, you know, in the NICU in her room, so we had a nice view out of her room. There was a water fountain right there in the NICU room. And Lulu, because that was the first time that Lulu got to see her, because in Christiana, when we were in there, they wouldn't let any kids in the room or anything like that. So when we transferred over to Nemours and got in there, Lulu actually got her first time to meet her, and she would come up and, you know, spend time. Well, there's a hand and face print on the outside of the window looking in. That is still there.
Nice. we know we're there. Were y'all on? So Nikki, that's just what, second floor? You're on 2 East, I guess. Or kind of over by the gardens or whatever.
Trying to think. It's by like the kids' surgery. There's like a surgical thing there. I'm not sure.
That might have been 2 East.
Yeah,
possibly.
Maybe. There's like a little playroom.
Yeah, we started off. I think we started off on 2 East originally, and then they bumped us over to 3 West once they were like, all right, you're good enough to move out. You don't have to be in here, but you're not quite ready to go home, kind of thing. Yeah, that place is. What blows my mind about being up here is, first of all, I've been through this area enough times to not know Wilmington in general. Like, I knew it as a stoplight town in between Philly, New York, Baltimore, and Washington. I knew it as like the thoroughfare on 95. You just blow by it. But the fact that they have a hospital like this that specializes in critical care for kids on the dysplasia side, and just the kind of care that they have. And then right up the road in Philly, you have CHOP, which is like king of the castle when it comes to kids care too. Blows my mind. I would have never thought in a million years that this was like the hub to be at if you have a kid with medical complexities. I would think it would be something like New York or Dallas has a big hospital scene, and they have good hospitals. My dad was a firefighter down there and worked in the medical field, and they've got respectable places. But for the kind of care that we've seen and dealt with and had, it's unmatched up here. It really is.
Well, it seems like ECC's really working out for you guys, man. God. It looks like awesome.
It's been awesome. He's thrived and flourished in the past, I think, for almost 2 years. I guess in September will be 2 years there. And just to see him kind of blossom and come into his own and become the exuberant, goofy kid that he is. I feel like he's really taken on the dad's dumb, goofy side. Like, he's still loving and nurturing like his mom, but he's like really a wild child now. Like, he wants to get like roughhoused and played with. And that part is like what I've been waiting for. He's out of that, like, all right, you got to be careful, hold him this way, he's going to be in a halo, you got to do this, that, and the other. And now you can actually like hold him up by his legs and swing him around and like play with him like a boy. And he loves it. He eats it up.
Man. Yeah. That's what it's all about. That's the dad shit. That's what we that's what we look forward to.
That's what we strive for.
Yeah.
Be able to pick a kid up by like a leg and just be like, You have nowhere to go and just swing around and have fun with them, kind of thing.
Yeah, I feel like we talked about half the shit. Yeah, we were going to talk about on the podcast when we were hanging out in the house and everything. But this dude has like the coolest job, and usually like I'm not that dude that's like talks about work and all that stuff. But just because I'm so into music, man. Like I told you in there, I envy you because like you have the fucking coolest job known to man.
I got blessed. I mean, it's actually all started off from the nerdy side. I used to be a heavy theater kid.
Yeah.
And that's like where all my roots come from is the theater side. And actually went to college on a scholarship to like a junior college. Wasn't that good at English.
Yeah.
It was one of those things that just kind of panned out. I was like, this is not my thing.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to go bust tables and like try to kick it in Hollywood with all the big wigs. Mm-hmm. My parents were out in Canada on a motorcycle trip, and me and my buddy were recording. We were playing guitar, recording some music on a laptop, and I was like, this would be a cool job. I looked it up, called them mid-trip. I'm like, I don't want to go to college. I want to go to audio school. They're like,
shit.
You better think this through real quick. And I was like, I've thought about it. I've looked it up. Like, this would be great.
I Googled that shit.
Yeah, I want to make a Grammy record. Like, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. You won't regret this at all. And luckily, it's panned out. I mean, with the audio school, came back and worked in a small studio in my hometown, and then realized the studio work really, I wouldn't say it wasn't for me. It was just listening to the exact same song and nitpicking it for 8 hours a day was not really my thing.
Yeah.
So I got in a House of Blues in Dallas, and then within, I think, 3 or 4 months of working there, got my first tour gig.
Yeah.
Went out on the road and busted around, thought I was making a killing $100 a week or $150 a week in a 15-passenger van with 7 band members and 3 crew dudes, and hucked it around with them for I think 2.5, 3 years, I think it was. Mm-hmm. And then got on with a country band down in Texas and stuck with them for almost 5 years, and then met my lovely wife. And then said, once I get married, I'm getting off the road.
Yeah.
And now I'm back in production again up here. Just not touring.
Right, yeah. Nah, that's awesome. Well, Odell was telling me before, we jumped on a podcast and everything like that. They, he found a good spot, real flexible with Walker stuff and everything. So that's nice, man.
Yeah, great. I'm blessed to be with this company. They've opened their arms up heavy for my situation. From the initial interview with my boss, remember I was at Nemours still, and I was talking to him. I said, hey, look, I'm looking to get back in production. I'd like to come meet you and talk with you. And I was like, here's my story, like kind of gave him an abridged version of it. And then when I met him, did the walk through the production place or production warehouse, and I told him, I was like, look, we're here for my kid. Mm-hmm. Like, if I get a phone call, I'm not leaving work to go have beers with the boys. I'm not going to Cabo for fun. Like, my time off is me with our kid. Like, it is just what it is. And he was like, we'll make it work.
Yeah, it's awesome, man.
And they've been great. Like, they care about us and our family too. Like, they always ask if I pass by some people from the office. They're like, how's Walker doing?
Yeah.
How's your wife doing? How's the family doing? Like, they care. It's the best case scenario for a scenario we never thought we'd even be in.
Yeah. Isn't it cool? Like, it's amazing, like, what these kids can do, and like they have no idea. Yeah. They have no idea the lives that they're affecting and changing, and the joy that they bring to people. You know, it's really awesome.
It's a crazy, chaotic roller coaster that never ends, and somehow keeps getting better even with the ups and downs that go along with it.
Yep.
Yeah.
What do you do to cope with it, man? What's like kind of your hobbies or therapy or just
Well, I mean, to sound, I wouldn't say. Obviously, the best thing is my wife and my kid.
Yeah.
That's like, if my wife's happy, I'm happy.
Yeah.
If little man's happy, I'm happy. If he's doing good, I'm doing good. If she's doing good, I'm doing good. That's like the key defining moment thing for me is outside of the main priority of them. I've made a really good friend group up here through disc golf. I picked it up way back when in Texas and put the bag away. And when we came up here, I was driving Sydney back from Walker's hospital room to Ronald McDonald.
Yeah.
She goes, "Do you see the disc golf baskets over at the Nemours spot at their estate?" And I was like, "What do you mean disc golf? They have it here?" Like as if it was some new invention that Delaware had never heard of.
Yeah, right.
But apparently it's a really big thing up here. And I fell into a really good group of guys, and they're just, it's the same kind of feeling from work. They're super caring about our family. They've been nothing but open arms. Some of the best people, kindest hearted people I've ever met. And I go hang out with them. I do like during the winter time right now, or going into spring, we do like indoor putting league, kind of cornhole in a sense, but just disc golf. And so we do that, and then during the summertime we play disc golf, like doubles leagues. We kind of go out and pay $5 in, drink some beer, hang out, play disc golf, and shoot shit and relax.
Nah, that's cool, man.
Yeah. Haven't been able to fish as much. That used to be like my outlet. Was fishing. Fishing and hunting, but I've yet to get a hunting license up here yet. I've heard it's pretty crowded. At some of the parks. And then fishing's been a little different. I'm used to big, nasty bass that you can catch down in Texas, huge catfish and all that kind of stuff. And up here, it's like, oh, we have smallmouth and we have trout. But if you want to catch some really big fish,
Texas. Everything's bigger in Texas.
So, for the most part, yes. But then they're like, if you really want to catch fish, you go striper fishing. And then you gotta know the guy that knows the guy that knows the place, and it's all hush hush up here. We're in Texas, it's like go to the crappie hole, go to the bass hole, like let it rip.
Up here it's go to the asshole, not the bass hole.
Well, I've been trying to get. I mean, you mentioned that you used to do a lot of hunting and fishing and stuff like that too. I mean, is there any, I guess, area up here that you would say is like the spot to go kind of thing?
So, pretty much, in my opinion, like hunting, you pretty much have to know private. You know what I mean? Like you got to get on private land, get on a lease, something like that. Fishing, man, like down Turkey Point, all the way down 272. I don't know if you know anything about it. So you can get there from, that's where we put the boat in when we go out boating and stuff. There's state park down there. And you can, you pretty much walk, through the whole park and down a cliff and all this shit. And there's a set of rocks down there that you can go out there, and you do catch some pretty good stripers and stuff like that out there. Bass, we'll just have to get you over in a pond over across the street where the horses are. I mean, I don't know how big they are. I haven't fished over there in a while. But
I'll take a 2 to 5 pounder any day of the week. I've got buddies that I used to work with back in Texas that are catching like 10, 12 pounders on the daily. It's just part of it down there.
Now maybe one time we'll have to go down there. We'll take a trip down Turkey Point and everything like that. Throw some lines out. But I used to skip high school back in the day. Get out there and try to catch some stripers, man. They're a really. Have you ever been striper?
So the only striper fishing I've done has been Texas striper fishing, either on the Red River or on like Lake Texoma, and then we also have hybrid bass, which is like. They look like striped bass, but they're like shorter length and fatter, basically. But like the bigger striped bass that I've ever caught have been like maybe 7 to 10 pounds, like nothing crazy. And then I remember our first time to Lewis Beach. It was in the middle of winter. I wanted to show Sydney there was snow that you could see on the beach, and it was like this neat thing. We went to this little restaurant, and apparently they're like the kings of striped bass fishing, and it's just like all these pictures mounted on the wall of guys catching like 50, 60 pound striper, and they're like double arm holding them, and I'm like, that's what I want to get into. Like that looks like fun.
Yeah, they are. They're a good time. So anybody out there that's watching, let's get Odell on a striper fishing boat.
If not that, I follow a dude. So the Susquehanna River, I think that's how I pronounce it.
Close enough.
Susquehanna.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like wooder and water and water.
Yeah, it's close enough. We know what it is.
All kinds of verbiage of it. So there's a guy up here. I follow his page, and his shit is unbelievable. He goes after like muskie and smallmouth bass.
Yeah.
It's Susquehanna Smallmouth River.
Okay.
Or Susquehanna Smallmouth Guides or whatever. I like show all my buddies back in Texas. I'm like, you want to see muskie and smallmouth bass like you've never seen in your life?
Yeah.
This guy is killing it out here.
Nice.
He's holding like 50-inch muskie. Like he's like, yeah, we went out for smallmouth and just like crushed muskie all day. I'm like, I want to get into that. Where do I sign up?
So we need a trip, man. Let's do it. You know,
Yeah, Dad's of Little Warriors.
Yeah, we'll do a Dad's of Little Warriors charter. You know, we'll get it set up. Yeah, you know, maybe we can get out there and throw a line, fucking
Let
do
her rip.
something. Yeah, man. Yep.
Go out and rip some lips.
Yeah, exactly. If we can't rip lips, we'll take that bitch Chesapeake in. We'll fucking have a couple drinks.
Me being I used to sell bass boats back in Texas.
No shit.
Yeah, I did that for a little while. Like when I got off the road.
You get around, man.
Yeah. So when I got off the road, when I decided that I was going to get off the road and stop touring, one of the guys that filled in and played drums for us, his name was Jeff Gilbert. He owns this really badass boat shop called Fun and Son.
Yeah.
And he was like, if you ever decide to get off the road, I would kill to have you come work for me. He was like, I'll make it work. I'll teach you everything you need to know. You'll make a killing at it. You'll love it. You'll love the people here. It's literally like everybody there is family. I was like, cool. And I took his word on it. And I said, I'm getting off the road. He's like, come have an interview. We'll make it happen.
No shit.
And we became really good. I mean, we've always been good buddies. And he's brother-in-law, I guess, to Steve Stone, the guy I was talking about earlier. So it's like big family kind of thing. And
Nice.
So like every time we'd go to Green H2O, we'd go down to the boat docks and I'd be walking around like, oh, Tidewater. Oh, there's a Grady White. Oh yeah, there's this, there's that. And I'm like talking to Cindy about the motor setups and she's just like,
Whatever,
you just
dude.
can't get this out of your head, can you? I was like, I miss my friends. Walker's first birthday, we decorated the side of his hospital crib to look like a Phoenix bass boat with a 250 horsepower Mercury outboard on the back of it, and put the Fun and Son logo on the side of it, and and I sent it to them. I was like, your future pro staffers just turned one. They were like, bring it back anytime. We got a boat for them.
Oh man, that's really cool.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Did you have a boat when you were in Texas?
I got lucky enough to be I kind of like pro. I wouldn't say pro staff, but like I had a demo boat through the boat shop.
Yeah.
So basically, they were like, "Here's your boat. Your whole job is to." Be able to take people out in it,
nice,
show them around in it, take them fishing.
Dude, you had the best jobs in the fucking world.
The only thing I had to make sure of is I had to find a buyer for the boat before I could order another one, kind of thing.
Yeah,
and it was great. And obviously, like I was also able to like, I was like, hey, can I take the boat out on the weekend?
Yeah,
take it out, go to the lake for an hour, or if I had like a slow day at work or wanted to take a day off, I'd take it to the lake, bring it back to the shop. All the guys like helped me learn about maintaining boats and stuff like that. They were great, and so I got to do that, and it was amazing. That whole experience, that whole group of people will never not be family to me for what they've done for not only me but my wife and Walker. Yeah, they're just always going to be kind of integral part of me in a sense.
Yep.
And they're just the coolest people in the world.
Awesome. You definitely need that.
Jeff's the shit. If Jeff, you see this.
Jeff, you're the shit. So, man, you think you're going back? What do you think you're going back to Texas, or you kind of made it home here, or what do you think?
So I'm in two different mindsets. We want to go back for the obvious reason of being back in our home environment. no offense to up here, it's a little more affordable down there to live.
Yeah.
In a sense, we're doing fine up here.
Sure.
But we also want to be close to family. We've kind of got this idea in our head of what we want to do and how we want to go about it if we can get back there. Would I be lying if I said I would not be opposed to staying here if that turned out to be the case?
Yeah.
I would make it work, and I know we would make it work. Would it be probably the toughest choice of our life to do that? Yes, but I feel like coming from the decisions that we've already made, I feel like if that's something that we have to do, even as much as we wouldn't want to do it, we'd buck up and make it happen.
Yeah.
But obviously the primary goal is at some point get back to Texas.
Yeah.
Whether it be, I mean, at one point we thought it would be within the next year to 2 or 3 years, but it might be stretched out now. And if that is what it is, that's just kind of how it is.
Yeah.
I mean, I tell Sydney this all the time. She probably gets sick and tired of me saying it. I'm like, can't count your chickens till they hatch. You can look at the nest. And you can look at the eggs all day long.
Yeah.
But if you, and I'm bad at this too. It's just one of those things of like, we get so excited about something happening, and then Walker is amazing at throwing a little curve step into it, and it breaks us back to reality of we're not in control of everything. We gotta go with the flow and let it happen, kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely, man. I mean, that's a huge adjustment, life change, just all around in such a short period of time. You know?
No, it's been crazy. I mean, I can't imagine, I mean, just for y'all's aspect, being thrown into this, because obviously Lulu was, that was y'all's first child. And so that, going from that to being thrown into medical mom and dad, that aspect switches on a whole different mindset of responsibility and choice making.
Yeah, big time, man. And like it was such a short time in between the two that like everything was just so different. You know, like you go from like just getting like, I couldn't wait to be out of the fucking bottle stage. You know what I mean? Like Lulu like just got out of it and like we're right back in it, and like I think that's gonna be the hardest part, and it's just like fucking bang.
Yeah.
You know? Like you thought that was gonna be hard.
Yeah.
Hold bear and watch this.
Yeah. All of a sudden you feel a tap on your shoulder, you turn around, it's like, think twice.
Yeah. But like the more I talk to, you know, other people and stuff like that, like I don't know if it probably wouldn't have been any easier if we would have known something.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like I'm terrible for that. Like I'm a big like planner, and I like things on a schedule and all that stuff, to where I think it would have just, you know, it fucked me up enough, everything we went through, but like I really feel like it would have really messed me up, like if I knew prior that there was going to be. And that's why, you know, I ask the questions I ask about like anything to prepare, because I know it would have just totally mind fucked me.
There's no, looking back on it now is one thing. Being in the moment, there's zero words, there's 0 words, and probably no affirmation of here's what you should do. There's no booklet. I mean, even having a kid in general, they all say it like there is no set like plan as to have a kid. Here's what you do. This, and this. Like there is none of that. And then especially like getting the curveball like we've been thrown, and other families have been thrown, and talking to other families too. It's like you get told news like that, and you just get thrown into a headspin, and you lose focus of how to even cope with reality to begin with, but also figure out where to go to next. And that's where, like, bragging on Sydney again, like one thing I envy about her is she's not the biggest social butterfly. Like she's great at being social around people she's comfortable with, but if there's one thing that she is beyond amazing about, 10 out of 10, everything that she does based off of Walker and her experience to help other families. She's probably directed, I'm probably miscounting, I'd probably say plus 10, plus 15, maybe even over the 20s.
Yeah.
Of families that have been told similar news to us.
Sure.
And been told things of like, we can't do anything to help you. We don't know where to go from here, and has directed them up here to Nemours or up here to CHOP. And now they're on the right road to recovery, or they're on the right road to proper care and getting the right kind of guidance. Like there's a family that she made friends with from North Carolina, and they're making the official move. Like they're buying a house here. They're going to live here to be close to CHOP and Nemours and have that kind of proper
and I'm sure
care.
you guys, I mean, I can't say for sure it's because of you guys, but it's because of that. You see somebody do that, and you see the benefits that they got from that, and you're just like, they did it. I can too.
Yeah, and it's also one of those things, especially for her, it's like we wish that we had somebody back then.
Big time, man.
Especially early on to be like, you're diagnosed with this, you need to find this hospital and kind of get the proper diagnosis, or at least kind of
second
direction
opinion,
to go.
Right, like that's what it's...
Because a lot of people get that initial meeting with a doctor, and it's just like the whole world shuts down. You don't know where to go from there. And then you have somebody, I mean, it's not saying that Nemours knows everything, but they have such a good staff and such a good ability and bedside manners. They definitely know how to properly talk to families. That's the other thing. To be able to direct you in the right path to make the best case scenario out of something that could go terribly wrong, because somebody was just like, it is what it is. We can't do anything. Sorry for you. We'll see you down the road. Here's the check.
Exactly. No, we went through that. You know what I mean? Like we were, when Lucy was in there, and we had our MRI, done after she came off cooling and all that stuff. We had the MRI done, and like that night, the neurologist came in. This one with Nemours, where we were at before, and he's like, "You guys need to sit down," and I'm like, "Fuck, man, I don't, I didn't know what I was doing. I was like still in like my mindset was like not there, dude. Like I was just like." In survival mode of protecting my family, and that's really all it was. And he was like, there's brain damage on both sides, and like the front, like she's not really going to do anything. You know what I mean? She's just, there's no real activity on the EEG. MRI came back with, pretty bad brain damage, or severe brain damage. And but
that looker's kicking ass.
I know, man.
Her eyes are so blue. They're like the biggest blue marbles.
And we don't know. Like I guess Sam's dad had blue eyes. Nobody really in my family has blue eyes, but I think my niece does. But man, they just like popped out of nowhere, and both her and Lulu, they both have like the bluest eyes, and I'm like, you fucking girls.
When Walker was born with blue eyes, so Cindy's got like these big blue eyes, but sometimes they go to that greenish thing. And I told her, I was like, they're gonna that baby blue's gonna fade. He's gonna have poop brown eyes just like his dad. And it never faded. I was like, okay, never mind. I guess he's gonna have solid blue eyes. I guess I was wrong.
That's what I tell Sam all the time. I'm like, they're gonna have brown eyes just like you. Y'all gonna be full of shit.
We're full of it, clearly.
Oh man, and like hearing your story and all that stuff, like with not having family here and all that shit, man. It's tough, we have some family that understands, and like that's the biggest part is you tend to find like, even like random like strangers that you come across that have been through the situations, or like friends that, we've got friends that we were going through this, and they're like, man, you could have called me at like 2 o'clock in the morning and just straight, like I answered the phone and you told me to go fuck myself. Like, okay, I'll see you tomorrow. And then you have the other people that just like, don't get it, man. They don't get that you have those bad days where you're just like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I feel like, really what I think is us as guys, we're so, it's in our biology in a sense to be so inept to not show emotion and not show what we're going through. Because I saw a video a while back where it's like men go through it's not to say that women don't go through it, but like men go through 10,000 problems all the time.
Yeah.
And we have to bottle it up and we have to hold on to it, because if we show any kind of weakness to our family and our wife or our kids, then it puts the worry on them, and then it doubles the worry on us,
sure.
and it just compounds after
100%,
that.
man.
And it's to credit to what you're doing. Like I was telling my dad earlier on the way over here, the fact that you had the foresight to not only make a page and a group where not just like when I first heard about it, I was like, oh great, a spot for medical dads to like kind of get together. And then I was like, it's not just for medical dads, it's for all dads. Like all these wives have their book clubs, their group walks, their coffee time, their wine time, their bachelor night or whatever the hell it is. And it's like us guys, it's just like, I'll see you at the bar.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's like if we can't, it's like if we can't get to the bar, it's like we need someone to talk to, and a lot of times it's just like, how are you doing?
Yeah,
Shitty,
man.
sorry for you.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow at work. All right, bye. Like, but to have like a group that's based around the idea that you can. It's not AA. It ain't showing up and be like, hi, my name's Bob.
Right.
Hi, Bob. What problems are you going through? We feel it, and it's all like emotionless. It's not to say that AA is emotionless, but it's like the fact that you have made this community into what it is of a outreach for guys that are just like, I'm having a shit day, and I don't want to bring it to my wife because I don't want to stir up anything in the house. I just want to talk to somebody outside of my group and have that kind of family mentality without it being so high-strung. Because as guys, as we always are, it's what's wrong with you? What can I do to fix it? Instead of that, it's what's wrong with you? Here's an ear to listen.
Yeah, man, exactly. And that's what it's all about. You know, when we were in the NICU, I told Sam, I'm like, because, dude, they wanted us, you know, to do therapy and all this shit and everything. And I'm like, man, I don't want somebody that can just tell me some shit out of a book. You know what I mean? Like, I need something. I just don't know what I need, but I know that's not it.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine doing the therapy thing. It's nothing against therapists. I'm sure they have their place, and they definitely do good work, and they help a lot of people out. But it's like,
I need real shit. You know what I mean? Like, I need it like real, and like it doesn't have to be all the time of like, you know. And that's what I say about this shit is like we're not gonna get on here and cry and mope and you know all that stuff. It's just like, man, sometimes you just need to shoot the shit.
Yeah, and it's the same kind of feeling of like a lot of wives would probably agree with this. And they're like, why do you go fishing all the time? He's like, I don't go fishing just to catch fish.
Yeah, a
lot of it is that is a therapy. It is a moment to where you are isolated. There's no escape. You either jump out of the boat and swim, or sit there and take it like a man and talk it out. And you get those moments out, and you get those things situated and talked about, and having an outlet again like what you're doing is crucial for us, because I've met dads in the hospital that it seems like they're just shut down and don't want to say anything. And it's like, I know what you're going through.
Yeah, dude.
But it's like, and I'll always tell them, like, if you ever want to go disc golf, you want to go grab a beer or go eat a steak or go have a burger or just hang out. If I can find time, I'm terrible with time, as you know. And response, I'm also terrible at. But when I get around to it, it's always like a heartfelt thing of like, let's go
arms
out.
open, man. Just, you know.
Yeah, you don't have to knock. Kick the door in.
Exactly. Everybody's different, and, you know, everybody can be themselves, you know, and how they deal with shit.
Especially, and again, the other side of what you're doing is it being an open community of, and I see that throughout my disc golf group, and obviously with what you're doing, it's not a place to say, you think this, ergo, I don't like you.
Right.
Like it's a place of, you can think what you think. But the last thing I'm going to do is tell you how to live your life, or or judge you for it. I may think differently, and I may completely disagree with what you're thinking of.
Yep.
It doesn't make you less of a dad.
No.
It doesn't make you less of a human being in a sense. Like I grew up Southern Baptist, still believe and whatnot. It's something I was raised on, and my family really instilled that in me early growing up. And it's one of those things where it's like, I remember early on talking with a buddy at work, Eric, or no, it wasn't Eric, it was somebody else. It was one of the other guys at work. And we kind of got on the script or the conversation of religion, and I was just like, man, I'm just telling you, if you want proof, I got a kid named Mark you got to meet. They said wasn't even gonna freaking be here. I put up prayers harder than I ever have in my entire life, and now he's 4 years old. I can't deny it on my side, but at the same time, if somebody's not fully on that, it's like I have zero reason to judge you. We're all dads. We're all trying to do our best. We're trying to keep our shit together.
Exactly,
we all screw up and learn from it and move about our lives in certain ways. And I just feel like judging somebody and picking them apart just because they think a little different sometimes doesn't get the point across that you do or don't care about them. I think it's just something of the nature of like, look, you're going through it. You need an ear to listen to you. You need eyes to see. You need somebody to know that they care about you. I'd rather care about you than sit there and pick you apart for something.
Yep, 100%.
It's an ongoing, always chaotic process that she has in her head that she does very well at. I just go in there.
She does do fucking awesome, man. Those things are fucking sweet.
I just go in there to help either with cleaning and renovating whenever she starts to get stressed and worried. She's like, this is overwhelming. I just need help. And I'm like, all right, I'm there. Like, let me come in and help. Like, we're good. We'll get this done and we'll have some like enchiladas or something. She loves enchiladas. I like the quesadillas.
Yeah.
And then I help her out with like the vinyl cutting. So like that's my partake in the wreath business of hers.
Yeah. Nah, that's cool that she does that shit, man.
She does great.
Yeah,
she does great work.
Awesome.
She's tried to convince me a couple times to either get into a rental space or kind of like a rental space, either at like not an antique shop, but like not even a flea market. It's like a pop-up shop kind of thing. And I've told her, I was like, between the time of you making wreaths and being with Walker, do you really want to deal with another shop too? And then it's like, okay, she does good enough on her own to be able to be at home, make wreaths, which it's always every day. I made 2 wreaths, sold 2 wreaths. I'm like, I'm not surprised. Your shit's good.
Good job,
like,
baby. You're fucking
I get it. Like,
yeah,
you're knocking them out. Like, and then it gives her enough time to be able to spend time with Walker for like 80% of the day, and then she goes home, makes wreaths. I go hang out with Walker, and then come home, and then I cook. No offense to her, calling you out on the podcast. I am the cook of the house.
Hey man,
she's
when
not.
You're good, you're good.
She won't be ashamed of it either because she likes my cooking. So it's fine. It gets a little tiresome at times, but it's fine. Whenever she like makes a crock pot or whenever she cooks something, it's like such a relief. I eat as much of it as I can. She's like, are you sure you really like it? I'm like, I love it.
Amazing.
I was like, you could literally feed me mud on a plate,
dude,
and I would still be over the moon about it.
Yep.
Just because it's like, she's naturally crafty and very in tune with trying to make things perfect, to a point where it will bug her a little bit. But it's the best. It's one of the best qualities about her. Like, she just cares enough about everything to a point of perfection that even when it's already perfect, she thinks that it could be better, and it stresses her out. And I hate that, but it's also awesome too, because it just shows that she just is always like trying to strive a little bit further.
Man. See, I get it. It's funny, like, and we have other friends that are like that too. Like, we're just vice versa. So like, Sam is just like the fuck it is what it is. You know what I mean? And I'm the dude that's like, nah, this is how it is. This is how it is, how it's going to be, and if it's not, it fucking ruins everything.
Yeah, it's like it either works or it doesn't. And if it doesn't work, it is what it is.
I might blow a hole through the fucking wall.
Yeah. Yeah, like I was kind of like I was telling you earlier in the kitchen, like it's that stupid. I say stupid. It's ingrained in my brain. Is that dumb family name of last name being Rushing? Yeah, it's the all right. Rushing enough as it is. We can slow down. We can enjoy it. Just because it's not perfect right now doesn't mean it won't be perfect later. It's fine. Everything's good. We're good.
For those of you who didn't know, his last name is Rushing. So
and granted to my dad for the family joke and also basically a mantra of my life of you're rushing enough as it is, you can take your time and enjoy the little things around you.
Yeah, we definitely lose sight of that.
Yeah,
that's for sure.
On a lot of occasions we get so caught up in worrying about, and it's something that I've talked with Cindy a lot too, like she has a lot of stress on her plate all the time, just being a medical mom in general, and sometimes she gets caught up with it, and I understand that she goes through these very deep up-down emotions of flashbacks of really scary times, and then also super high highs, and then some low lows, and then we as dads go through it too.
Yeah.
And it's every once in a while, it's like you gotta enjoy all the little things, because all the little things are here and gone, like in the split second. Man. And it's like if you get too lost and buried, and it's not that say that you can't have those emotions, but I feel like sometimes I get worried of, I don't want her to get so lost into the emotions that she misses out on something, which she never does, and she's there for everything. But it's like it's being the I gotta fix it, I gotta help her kind of mentality.
For sure.
I just don't want her to ever miss out on anything good, because everything good that's ever happened to us has come from her and I. Like,
Yep. Yeah, that's tough. As far like, I forgot that when we were talking before. Like, was the birth of Walker like pretty normal? You know what I mean?
It was normal in the sense that it was a natural birth.
Yeah.
But it was also very chaotic.
I'm sure.
It was when we knew, so when she got induced, we were there for like a night. And then the next evening at like 11-ish, again, she's way better at specifics. She would know the exact time, second, and moment. But when it came down to him being born, it was get him out, because we didn't know how much time we had with him.
Yeah.
And of course, as this is happening, it's kind of become I wouldn't say a running joke, but a running funny moment from that chaotic, scary time in our life. The first thing that the doctor said as Walker was being born was like, "Oh my God, look at all that hair!" And then of course I peek around the corner and all I see is like a full bush of hair, and I'm like, "Oh my God, look at all that hair!" And then he gets born, and then we cut the umbilical cord, you hands him off, and it was the emotional aspect of let's hold him, let's have this moment and soak it up while we can. Yeah. And then he finally like opened his eyes and like let out this like little tiniest like man cry. Yeah. And we were like, all right, you got his breath out. I've seen him open his eyes. I've heard him cry.
Yep.
I know he's alive. So like anything after this is it's literally in God's hand at this point. Like it's out of my hands. Like I've done all I can.
Yep.
I'm just gonna soak it up while we have him. And then within a few hours later, they were like, "All right, do y'all have a car seat to be able to take him home?"
No shit.
It was within the first like maybe 4 or 5 hours. They were like, "Well, there's a good chance he might go home. Do y'all have a car seat?" And we're like, "What do you mean? Do we have a car seat? We have an empty room. We have no crib. We have no bassinet. We have no diapers. We have no clothes. We have no toys. We have no bottles. We have literally
We're
nothing.
moving in, motherfuckers.
We literally have an empty room, completely empty room." And the second they even mentioned him possibly going home, Sydney's mom, my mom, her sister, and her best friend, her two best friends,
on it.
went back to the house, and then with the family's help and the help of the guys at Fun and Sun, they literally put it all together.
No shit, man. That's awesome.
And we were there at the hospital for 4 days-ish.
Yeah.
We went home on a Friday, and on the whole ride home was just terrifying. It was like, all right, we have him out of the hospital. Now we don't even know how to be parents.
Yeah.
Like, we didn't read any of the books. We didn't do any of the planning. We didn't do any of the therapies.
We didn't do
and
any of that
talks.
shit with Lulu either.
It was like we had no idea what we were walking into. And we pulled up to the house, and when we walked in, it was our family there. We walked back to his room, and it was... when we first got in there was like a bassinet by the bed that her grandmother had gotten for us. There were clothes. There was a pile of like diapers, books, clothing, everything we could have asked for that had been like purchased from family members, friends from work, friends from my old touring group. Like all of her friends pitched in. Like the whole community like kind of like came together. And
it's awesome when that happens, man.
Yeah, it was incredible. It was something that we never even thought we were going to have to begin with, and then come home to what we thought was still going to be an empty house, figure it out. Everybody had come together and tried to like help us out.
It's big.
It was very intense at first, especially early on, because he wasn't taken to eating naturally. And we had to literally feed him with a 5 millimeter syringe. Or 5 milliliters, not millimeters. 5 milliliter syringe at like dripping at a time, like little droplets. And he wasn't really taking that. Like we were pumped. I think it was like maybe the second day we had him home. Sydney's mom was over there, and she was like, he drank 11 milliliters of food, and we were like, oh, this is huge. And in the grand scheme of things, that's like this much freaking food. And we were like over the moon about it. And then it like really took off from there. And that whole scenario and that aspect was crazy. The whole feeding aspect for him was a whole nother chapter in general. We were feeding him I think it was 2 ounces of food every 2 hours. 24 hours a day. And he wasn't gaining any weight. He literally was just like skin and bone. And that's whenever the whole post went viral. Mary Ellen told us about cleft palate. And how you need to feed a baby with a cleft palate. And then he got NG. He got an NG tube down in Texas. And it was like, once he got the NG tube, was the first time we saw him smile. Like actually smile. We got him home. I think it might have even been the same day. He got the NG tube done. All of a sudden his face like lit up. He's just like skin and bone at this point. And he like lit up. We were like, all right, we're on the turn here. Like now we're actually making progress. And then he started to finally get his weight back up after the visit with visit with the Moors in February. And then became a fat little chunky boy. And it's amazing. He's a little chunker now.
Yeah, that was the first time that I heard so much about you guys and him and everything like that from Sam, but then when we came up to do the pictures and stuff like that, I'm like, this dude is fucking riot, man. He is awesome.
He's a big boy. He's becoming a big boy. He's stocky. He's getting longer in the torso, but he's like a chunk. Like big little fat pudgy boy. He's not fat. He's healthy weight for his size. He's perfectly plump for his particular size.
That's awesome, man.
Whenever y'all were in the hospital, was she ever put on like NG tube or anything like that when she was there?
Yeah. So.
And that was your first. It's weird seeing it happened for the first time.
Yeah,
I'm like,
man.
you're gonna do what?
Yeah, it was pretty wild. So that was her biggest thing after she finally woke up. So like with the HIE stuff, with lack of oxygen and blood flow to the brain, her feeding was her biggest thing. After they got her liver and kidney numbers and all that stuff was revived, it was back up and all that stuff. Got the MRI, did all that shit, and then she was taken off of oxygen, put on CPAP, and then they decided we're gonna take it off today. And it's like, okay, here we go.
Yeah.
Like, you guys don't want to. You did a trial run yesterday, and she was no go.
Yeah.
She's like, no, we feel like today's the day, and I'm like, whatever. So we did that, but yeah, she was on NG tube there. We were limited on how long we could try to, bottle feed her and all that stuff. She was on an NG tube the whole Nemours working on feeding, and then so she was born in June. We got out the end of July, early August, and I think she was on a tube till like October-ish, around there. She had the NG tube in. And dude, we just kept on fucking pushing.
Were y'all doing like the mix mash of because there was a point in time with Walker where whenever he was in G-tube, what they had us doing was bottle feeding him until he like gave us signs of like, I'm done. I don't want to bottle feed anymore.
Yeah.
And then we'd take the rest and then plus some and do NG.
Yeah,
kind of
same
thing.
Yep, same thing. So like they were real big on like in the hospital, they give us like 10 to 15 minutes. They're like, see what she'll take.
Yep.
And I'm like, she's not going to take that much in that short amount of time. You know what I mean? Like, I get it. You need to go on, through the feeding and all that stuff. She needs fed, she needs nutrition and all that stuff. But, we really started pushing it when we got home and got her to the point to where she was able to come out. I think it was funny that the last time she had an NG tube, she actually like coughed or sneezed and came all the way out. Came out, bro. I was like, Sam's like, I'm like, bloop.
Yeah.
And pull it the rest of the way out because it was like, it was looped.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And I'm like, fucking finger in, fucking flipped it out of there, and we're like, let's see how she does. And then we got cleared, with the doctors. But they actually just talked about, because she is still on their chart underweight, that they were actually talking her last appointment, the last nutrition appointment, which was not last week, I think the week before. They were talking about possibly having to put a G-tube in. Because,
oh, really?
Yeah, because she wasn't gaining what they wanted. But they finally gave us acid reflux medicine.
Oh, yeah.
And now she's actually holding everything down all the time.
See, they're talking about doing something with Walker. So he has a triple scope coming up at CHOP this month. And they're talking about, a lot of it was in preparation planning for his airway reconstructive surgery, which has now been kind of pushed back at the moment. They do a thing where it's like it's kind of like an NG tube. It goes in through your nose all the way down to your gut, and it has like little sensors all the way up it.
Oh yeah.
And it reads your acid reflux
shit.
over 24 hours. And the reason they do that is, for his case, they were doing it for the sake of, if they do his airway surgery, they don't want to be dealing with acid reflux that could come up and damage a fresh new airway kind of thing. But when you mentioned putting her on acid reflux, I was wondering if they had at any point done something like that.
They haven't. Yeah, no, they haven't done anything with that. They were trying to give us another medication for just like her neurological, issues and stuff like that, which was almost pretty much like a sedative. They were like, she's going to be loopy and tired and all that stuff, and it's like, we don't want to knock her out. Like, yeah, she cries a lot. Like, it's definitely tough sometimes, but like, we're just not those people that's like, knock my kid out. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want to deal with it. We want to, we just deal with it. We do what we got to do. But like, the acid reflux was a lot. We've noticed a big change in her. She's still cries and grumpy. We think it's just one of those things, like with the brain damage, that she can't turn off. You know what I mean?
Have y'all done sleep studies yet on top of MRIs?
They haven't. They did. They thought she was having another seizure because she did have a seizure, quick after she was born and stuff like that. But they haven't. They did an EEG on her to make sure that she wasn't having seizures, but didn't rule out epilepsy or anything like that. But yeah, they haven't got to there yet. So we'll see what happens, man. It's the same way you guys are. Like, we're in it. You know?
What's the next step outside of the possible G-tube? Which I will say, being a G-tube dad is the best of the two options because, no offense to my mother-in-law, they can't get accidentally sat on and pulled out. There was a moment in time where we were at a wedding and thought we were gonna have the night out, and then all of a sudden we got a phone call. His G-tube came out, or his NG tube came out. Yeah. Which at the time for us was real shitty because when it came out, we had to take him to the hospital, and they had to do because of his neck, or because of his kyphosis, his bend in his neck that he had. They were worried about bending his head back too far, so they had to do snapshot X-ray as they were putting the NG. So we would hold him, and you look at the monitor, and as they're putting the NG tube, it's like snap, 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 like picture after picture, all the way until they made sure that they weren't going into the lungs, or made sure that they got it in the right area of the stomach, in a sense. And I was like, that's insane.
Oh my God!
And I think it'll happen maybe twice, definitely two times, maybe three times, definitely twice, where it was like his NG tube came out, we got to go to the hospital, and it's like middle of the night, and you're there for 7, 8 hours waiting to just get an NG tube put back in.
Oh my God, man.
Whereas they showed us the video, and they're like, if your child's NG tube comes out, simply grab a new one, shove it in their nose, and make them gag for a split second and shove it all the way down into their stomach. And it's like, it's not that easy.
We changed a good bit of Lucy's, and that's how it was for us. It wasn't bad, man, but good Lord, I couldn't imagine. But yeah, so the problem with what we're dealing with is there's no really path other than just monitoring until she starts showing different milestones. So what we've noticed so far is her right arm is the biggest physical thing that you can see. She does turn out her arm and doesn't have the strength in that arm. She won't support herself. She's not sitting up on her own. She doesn't like, being on her stomach. She can't support and lift her head, while she's on her stomach. She cries fucking terrible. Deathly scream of that. So, she did get diagnosed with cerebral palsy too a couple months ago, which is pretty much her brain can't control her movements, with hands, feet, whatever. So really, it's that's the shittiest part, I think, is that nobody knows anything.
It's a whole new kind of landscape of figuring out. Yeah. It's a step-by-step learning curve the whole way. It's not we've seen this before, we know what to do. Yeah. It's a learning curve, which is
we've seen this before. Everybody's different. Yeah. We can't tell you what she's going to do, what she can't do, and same thing you were saying, we're just blessed that she's here because, we got the talk right after she was born that maybe 4 days, who knows what it's going to be. And, we've had similar people that we've known that have the same diagnosis and stuff like that have lost their kids, and it's shitty, man, to think about that.
Yeah, it's not easy. I don't personally know a lot of families. I had heard of, I think it was one other boy with DD, but I think there was either possibly a complication in recovery from surgery or something like that. It's just one of those things, like, you never want to, I mean, you've seen it in the movies, you've heard it from family members. No parent wants to bury their kid.
Right.
And I sadly kind of know that experience. My cousin, he lost his son at about 2.5 years old. He was born with a very rare medical condition, and he had really had it tough in the early stages, and then throughout like the mid stage of his life, he like really started to make a turn.
Sure.
And then their story is tragic in general. It should never happen to any family. But it was one of those things where they like got up in the morning and something was wrong. Mom tried to step in, tried to CPR, resuscitate, and he was gone. And we got, it was literally like July 3rd. I think it was July 3rd. We were on our way to my sister's house, and I got the phone call that he was gone, and we like turned the car around and rushed over to his house. And it was just one of those things where it's like, he was somebody that I leaned on whenever I got the news. Yeah. And it didn't really hit home until I went over to, I think it was to watch like a hockey. I think the Stars were in like the Stanley Cup or something like that. And I went over to hang out with the guys. Some of our other friends happened to be back in town. We were just having a group guy get together. Him and I stepped out on the porch, and he just like wrapped me in a hug. And we both lost it. And it was one of those moments where he's just like, soak it up while you can. He's like, I hate that you're going through this. And I was like, I hate that you went through it. And I don't even know what to expect. Like, it's just like, it sucks either way. Like, he's like, obviously I'm here for you. And he was somebody that I really did lean on a lot through that. I didn't talk to him a whole bunch. It's just, it's not bar talk kind of thing. It was one of those things where like, I saw him, I made eye contact, we had our moment, and it was like somebody that I especially when I got close to the end of the pregnancy before Walker was born, and I would call him every once in a while and just talk to him like, how do I deal with this? Man. How have you dealt with this? How do you even like understand being a dad that's lost a child that you shouldn't have even had to go through? He's like, there is no playbook on it. It is it's something that you got to fight through and figure your way through, and I'm still doing it every day, and I do it every year. He's like, I don't see July 4th the same way ever again. And luckily since then he's had his beautiful daughter, and they're thriving and doing great, but obviously it's still like,
dude, that shit don't go away, man.
No, I couldn't imagine, like, it's like you get that void in your soul that's just shouldn't have ever happened kind of thing. And that was real tough. That guy, his name's Tim. He's not that guy. He's my cousin. He's one of the strongest people that I never thought would be a strong person. He was a wild child as a kid, but eventually turned out and straightened himself out. And he's a great dad, great father to his daughter and his son, and he's gone through a lot. And I can't imagine meeting some family. I don't know how many dads you've met that have gone through something like that, and at least been an ear for them.
For sure. Yeah, it's you just, and it was something happened the other day. Oh, one of the horses got out, and one of the neighbors down here, was riding by, seeing it, and Sam's seeing it upstairs. So I go running out, going to grab these horses and get them back in the field and everything. It actually ended up being his wife because, you know, I was going down there to grab the horse and she was like, hey, you didn't happen to plow our driveway, did you? And I'm like, maybe. I don't know. She's like, you know, I was like, you live on the other side of Butch? And she said, yeah. I'm like, oh, so we start talking or whatever. And I don't even know how it ended up getting brought up. Like, you know, older ladies, they like to know life stories, you know?
Yeah.
And it just like, you know, I started talking about, you know, Lulu or something. And then, you know, she's like, oh, how many kids do you have? I'm like, oh, I've got 2. I'm like, you know, our youngest daughter, Lucy, she has brain damage. And, you know, we just been kind of going through it. And she was like, oh my God. And I'm like, that right there, I'm like, you never know what somebody's going through. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, and you don't think about it until you're in those shoes of dealing with things that nobody should ever have to deal with. And, you know, you just never know. Like, I'm not walking around telling everybody, like, hey, yeah, my daughter's got brain damage.
Yeah.
You know, like.
Yeah, and the other thing I feel like we as medical parents deal with a lot is when other families come up and they're like, you got kids? I'm like, yeah, I've got a son. And they're like, cool, tell me about him. And I'm like, well, he's got rare form of dwarfism. We moved up here and he was in a hospital. And kind of give like the short run. They're like, I'm so sorry. I'm like, don't be sorry. He's kicking ass and taking names.
Exactly.
He's in a better place. He's doing better now than he ever was at the very beginning, and better off than what they told us from the jump. Before he got here, they gave us the worst news, and here he is 4 years later, kicking ass and being the goofy little kid. Yeah, and to be able to kind of prove the doctors wrong and prove the world wrong that like our kids are fighters is the greatest freaking like. You
it is, man, exactly.
It's like you can't keep them down.
Another version of hold my beer and watch this.
There's times where Sydney's been like, oh, I just want to like send a photo of Walker to all the doctors that said he wasn't gonna be here and like do this and that. I'm like, I know, I totally get it, and I feel the same way. But like, we're not trying to start fights either.
Yeah, right. Yep.
It's totally justifiable. It's like, especially like I always, like I told you in the beginning, it's like I will never forget that lady being like, well, I'm surprised your son's still alive. If he's alive in March, I'd like to see you again. And we're like, nope, never mind. You won't get to know. And they called and they were like, hey, we were calling for the reschedule. We're like, won't be going.
Yeah,
we will pass.
Well, that's what, you know, I feel like Sam and her are just like, they just click, man. You know what I mean? Because they are both the same as like, you know, advocating and like figuring out, like you say this, I say something different, you know, and like they just do what they got to do, you know, and that's just, that's the mom. You know what I mean? That's the mom in them of figuring everything out. That's what they do.
So how long have you and Sam been together and married?
So we have been together, let me see, what's this, we moved here in 19. Yeah, I know, right? We got married at 19. So this will be 6 years we've been married and 8, 9-ish together.
Nice.
Yeah, so we were both previously married, you know, before, and we found each other a little bit later, and we both had our businesses and knew we were busy. Because, like, you know, dating, I think I was just getting ready to turn 30, I think, when we started talking. So, yeah, this will be 8 years, I guess. I'm getting ready to turn 38. But, yeah, man, that's an interesting
How did y'all meet?
Fucking bar.
Bar?
Fucking bar, Daddy.
Just walk up, bar crawl, meet.
Yeah.
Hey, girl, think you look pretty. Want to hang out?
It's funny. She always cracks up, and I don't think I've ever really said, you know, I've told friends this and shit like that. So we were at the bar. We were both watching a mutual friend play music, you know, because music's a big part of my life. So we were watching a friend play music, and I was going through my divorce and all that stuff. We'd been done for probably about a year or so, me and my ex. And we were finally getting ready to go through the divorce and all that stuff. And I'm, you know, doing the single guy life, you know, just going out,
bachelor life,
having a little bit of fun, and, you know, just like, I never considered myself like a man whore. Like I just wasn't really into that thing. I just like to have a good time. So we were out, and I knew of her because she took pictures of my family and stuff like that. You know, family pictures and my brother and his wife and kids and stuff like that. And she came up to me at the bar. You know, or not even really came up to me, but just like passing by, and she's like, hey, Shane. And I was just like, hey, I fucking moved on. You know what I mean? Like, I knew she was married and, you know, all that stuff just from just knowing each other. And,
I mean, y'all do live either in a state of 3 counties or Maryland.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Pretty small area you got up here with a lot going on.
2 business owners and all that stuff, you know, like we
feel like everybody kind of knows everybody, tried 5 statewide.
Yeah, yep. So, you know, long story short, we go on through the night, and I'm like, man, that was kind of weird. I think she tried to like talk to me maybe one other time throughout the night, and I'm like, that's weird. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't talk to married women. Like, I don't, like, even, like, conversate, I'll say hi, just like I did, but that's it. That's as far as it goes. It's not like, hey, how you doing? If I knew, you know, I don't really know you like that.
Cordial Southern hello.
Exactly, you know, and I'm like, I'm driving home, and I'm not going to lie. I had a couple drinks and all that stuff. I'm driving home, and I'm like, that was just weird. So, like, I'm looking at her Facebook, right? Yeah. As I'm driving home, and I'm like, bro, I see no dude.
Yeah.
There is no dude, again, like, left in this profile of anywhere. And I'm like, fuck it. So, I ended up Messenger, you know what I mean? And, like, after that, like, we just kind of, it was one of those things, like, I'm busy, you're busy, whatever. Like, we'll meet up when we can. And it kind of took off from there. And then once it took off, like, we were in because, like, we both understood the business life and all that stuff and everything. So yeah, it was interesting, you know. We got a little later start, but you know,
hey,
here we are.
Nothing wrong with that. But I think my parents had me when they were like, I think my mom. I'd have to do the math. I'm almost certain she had to have been close to 40.
Yeah.
Before she had me.
Yep.
In a sense.
Well, like you said earlier and everything, I love kids, but I never really like had the ambition to have my own kids. You know, like I never thought that like it just the business kind of overran my life, and you know I wanted, you know, when you have kids, like I feel like they deserve to have that undivided attention, and like I'm all in or nothing. You know what I mean? Like that's just kind of my demeanor on how I am. And, you know, when me and Sam kind of really started talking about it, and then we did IVF with Lulu because we couldn't, you know, it just wasn't working. Mm-hmm. You know, and then we had her, and I'm just like...
How stressful, and not just on the mind, but how the reason you brought up IVF, and that's something that Sydney and I have discussed as a more than possible route for... trying for a second kid at some point down the road. Obviously, we're kind of getting to that biological clock threshold in a sense. Yeah. How stressful was that part of the journey? Because that's something that I feel like Sydney and I are going to have to come to terms with at some point in time, just because of the genetic risk that her and I carry. In a
100% agree with that and understand that. So I think it was more. So let me see. So it was stressful as shit for me because Sam was stressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like that's where it was. For my part of, like, she was already going through, like, infertility. And, you know, we couldn't get pregnant and all that stuff. And then it was just, like, especially being our first two. Like, but really, I could probably put you in the same boat with that, too, because you're backing up off a walker. You know what I mean? So, like, it's that stress of, like, going through and figuring out. So like typically you get 10 embryos, half of them make it through the first stage, and then you just kind of wait for them to drop off. You know what I mean? The further you go, because we did do like the max amount of genetic testing to do, so we ended up with 2. I think we started out with like fucking 15 of them, and then it just knocked it down in half, knocked it down in half, knocked it down in half, and then we ended up with 2. You know what I mean? And then you're just like, okay, like there's still a chance that they don't take. But I would say majority of the stress that we had was just me and Sam. You know what I mean? It wasn't the fact of like, maybe hers would probably be a little bit different, but my stress was because she was stressed. Yeah. You know, and I'm like, I didn't know anything like about the whole process or whatever, and just to watch her go through that emotional roller coaster was fucking tough. Dude.
That was, speaking on that aspect of it, like, I can only, I mean, again, it may be too personal to ask, but like the moments of time, because you go into it with like eyes wide open, I assume of, oh, this is just how it works. We're gonna make it happen. We're gonna have a baby. Yeah. And then like you said, you start off with like the 10 to 15, and then it whittles, and then were those moments where it kind of like you had like the, oh, sorry, this 7 didn't happen. Were those like total gut shots, or was it like, okay, this sucks, but we still have options? And then as it whittled down, was it just for you, as from your perspective of it, was it like total gut shots, or was it total gut shots to you because of her emotional state from getting that information kind of thing?
Yeah. I mean, I would say like the initial part of it where we started and like they started to drop down, we already had like knowledge of that. Sam already gave me a heads up like, hey, don't, freak out, because this is typically what happens. When we got down to the last stage, I think it went from like 7 to 2.
And it was like total.
And it was like.
Was it like a panic kind of feel, or?
Yeah, and I would say like my biggest thing was because. One of the biggest things was because I was concerned for her. I was concerned for Sam on how she was going to react to how many were going to be left, and really it takes one. But, it's not obviously guaranteed. Yeah. But, like, it's just, I never really thought about it, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, especially now with dealing with Lucy, like, I'm trying to think back of, like, it felt like it, like, took forever to get to that point where we got down to the 2 that were, like, the best of the best. Because you do have those options to, like, opt out of different testing or do different testing and everything. But I remember we were getting the phone call for the last testing, and Sam's like, do you want to come home and get on this, video call of, what's going to happen with the last one? I was like, yeah, so I left the shop. I came home, and we were sitting at the kitchen table in there, and, the lady's on the phone. She was like, so, this is what happened. Are you guys ready? And we're like, yeah, that's fine. And they told us, we had 2 that made it to the final stage. And then she's like, do you want to know, the sex of the 2 that made it to the final stage? And me and her kind of look at each other, and we're like, yeah, we want to know. Awesome, guys. We really appreciate you tuning in to Dad's Little Warriors Dad Talk Season 2 with some kick-ass dads on here. So appreciate you coming in, man. Yeah. Thanks for hanging out and, telling your story and all that good stuff. And
appreciate it.
Keeping everything going.
Yeah, shooting shit, hanging out, having some beers.
That's it, brother. I'll catch you on the next one.
Bye, guys.
See you.